What's up, guys, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now, today we have kind of a grab bag of topics. We've got some GenCon conversation, some lighting conversation, some new models, subassemblies, all sorts of cool stuff. So let's get right into it. And Brent, what have you been up to since the last time we talked?
Wow, great intro, Casey. I have been painting Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knights, which is really what I probably said last time we talked, and I think this is going to continue on for many, many weeks into the future here. But yeah, I'm just really committed to finally getting a full Warhammer army painted. I've got my color scheme. Unfortunately, it's kind of a slow color scheme, especially the units I've been working on. But yeah, it turns out it takes me several hours per model at this point, which adds up. Not a bad thing. It is what it is, but it adds up.
Yeah, it does.
So most recently I've been working on Chaos Knights, and I've got a couple of generations of these figures going. And the older generation, you had the option of either sticking the rider down to the horsey or doing them separately and then trying to, paint them up separately and sticking them together at the end. Whereas the newer generation of Chaos Knights that came out last year, it assembles in a really weird way. It's, that new type of model where bit number 57 is left shoulder, right hip, part of the shield, and a foot and a stirrup. And also part of the horse.
It's amazing how they cut those things out.
Yeah, I mean, you get some really cool models out of them, but in terms of customization or even just leave the rider off until you're done painting the rider and the horse, that's not an option. So for the newer models, I definitely have to the rider is on the horse. There is no question about that. There's no subassembly. That's how it's getting painted. And for the older generation, I did have that choice, but I made the call. I said, I'm not going to bother with, trying to not get super glue on my paint job at the end. I'm just going to glue them down now. I will have the same assembly line in terms of, painting for all of these. And so, I have 15 knights with their butts are sitting on their saddles, and trying to paint their saddles is hard because there's also their shields and their capes in the way, and their reins and their straps. And you got horse flesh, you got barding, you got horse armor, you got straps and reins, and you got your girdles and bridles and bits. Horse terms.
Yeah. Man, I've been corrected a lot on horse terms. I mean, I think in this podcast, remember we talked about those ceramic horses, and I'm pretty sure we got corrected on horse terms.
Yeah, I don't think they're ceramic, but briar horses. Don't add us.
Can be. Just saying.
We'll learn. Okay.
We're not gonna.
We'll learn.
It's gonna happen again.
I think it's because I'm remembering now. It's coming back to me. I was trying to name types of horses, and I got about 2 in before I had to just say zebra because I couldn't think of any more.
Yeah, zebra.
Memories.
That was like episode 2. Jeez.
Yeah.
And we're coming pretty close up on a whole year, which is incredible.
Hey, happy birthday, Casey.
Right. It doesn't seem like it, but here we are. We're still trying. We'll get better. It'll happen.
Have faith. Just keep listening for another year, and if you still don't like it, maybe around the 3rd year you can turn us off, but stay with us for now. That's all we ask. Listen to us for 1-2 more years until we either get much better or much worse. So.
I mean, it's true. You can go both ways.
The future is uncertain.
Yeah. Like the new models, the way they are having them. So is it like you have the torso off though?
No.
Or they are fully assembled?
No,
everything.
No.
You're just trying to reach in there with a brush.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly. Of course, in between all of the different models within the same set, like the box has 5 Chaos Knights in it, and none of them go together the same way, but certainly for none of them can you leave any of the bits off. Like, I'm not kidding when I say, like, left foot, part of the horse, right hip, and, like, right shoulder are one piece. And there's no, like, leave the torso off so that you can paint the shield and the cape separately. It's like, do you leave off the left knee and the right shoulder and paint those separately? That's not helping anything. That you're just gonna
it's not.
You're gonna get one, you're gonna get confused, and 2, you're gonna get super glue all over everything when you try to put that together at the end. So
yeah, when I was doing the blood crushers for that corn army that I've been working on, 3 of them I had fully assembled like that with the rider on the mount, and unfortunately they're like completely the opposite color. And so working around that, even on an older model that I could just pop them off probably, is a pain. So I can imagine that being a pretty major issue for those particular models.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question for sub-assemblies. And more and more, I've actually been in the camp of just assemble everything and deal with it. So in this case, you do have horse armor and you do have person armor, Chaos Knight armor, and they're both yellow in my color scheme. So you glue them together. You're only spray painting 1 model instead of 2 models. And so for some of the phases, it's a little more efficient. Since I'm doing 15 knights, it is nicer to have 15 models on my table instead of 30 models on my table.
Yeah.
So, there's advantages there. But, of course, there does come a point where you are getting to, trying to sneak around the reins to paint their belt, get underneath their shield so you can get their belt, or try to paint their saddle under their butt, behind everything else on the model. And there's pros and cons, but for me, the extra trickiness of getting those hard to reach areas is the lesser evil than trying to glue things on at the end but not having them fit together or something like that. And of course the other drawback is for the entire process you don't have a model. Like until the very last step you have pieces, whereas right now for the last couple of days I've had models that look pretty cool. They've still got a lot of work to do on them, but they're starting to look pretty cool. I'm starting to get that sense of achievement. And even if I do, for some reason, wander off from this project, which has been known to happen, like projects get abandoned or left aside for a year or 2 here or there. But if that happens, I will have a decent model right now. Whereas if I just had a pile of bits that were mostly painted, that's nothing. That's
right, yeah. Like you can't even have some kind of like a practice game if they're half painted or, whatever it is you're gonna do with them. Yeah, like sub-assemblies it's I mean, it's a matter of preference in a lot of cases, but it is kind of a tricky thing. Like, when do you use them? When do you not use them? Because there are certain things like if I were painting those Chaos Knights and you're saying, well, I got to reach in and get the belt. It's behind the shield, behind the thing. Like, I'd probably just skip that part personally. Like, if you can't see it while it's on the table.
Yeah.
Like, especially for finishing an army, which I'm all right at. I can finish an army. Some people have a harder time. Like, that's the kind of thing you'd want to skip, right? So this is your first potentially fully painted finished army. Am I right?
Yes, it has potential. I've not given up hope on it at all. I'm still going strong, still building models for it.
Phase. Yeah. I see. Yeah. Have you built 2,000 points yet?
Certainly.
Okay. Okay, that's good. We're like at least 10% of the way there. You've got the color scheme picked out. Have you gotten yellow down on everything?
No.
Because that's kind of like the biggest thing. You still haven't done that yet?
No. Getting yellow on everything, I mean, that's just a few hours at the airbrush.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to do a deeper dive on batch size, actually. I think this is how I'm going to get a lot of the warriors done. Now, I have an idea for a video. Yeah. I hope I actually make it. But it's,
300
which batch
warriors. Size
is best? 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 40. And by the time I do that, I'll have 80 warriors. And then,
That's, good point.
And but I think there definitely does come a point where you just have a table full of models, and the efficiencies of being able to batch stuff out and do the old assembly line. I mean,
yeah.
The fact that it's an assembly line doesn't really matter if you're spending more than one session doing silver, which
yes,
I was certainly doing just with 15 nights. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just went through a fairly large session batch painting, and I did 65 bloodletters in a row. And that was pretty good. That actually didn't take very long either. Because they're much simpler models than Chaos Knights, but still, it felt all right.
It felt all right?
It was like 4 hours straight, to a good standard. So not bad. But I think it depends on the model too.
Oh,
because you're right. Like if you sit and you're painting silver and it's like, well, I just put in 8 hours and I got half of them done, and exactly. you're gonna have to come back with a wash too.
Yeah, the paint scheme I chose for this army definitely takes a while, and of course it depends on the model too. And these characters, they do have metal filigree all over everything, or at least the way I have them, it's a base of yellow, and then they have all kinds of details and rivets and bolts and all kinds of other stupid stuff on the armor, which I chose to make a different color. So there you go.
I mean, yeah. So how many metallics do you have in the army? Is it 2 or
just one? Just one.
Okay.
So actually,
that's not too bad.
Yeah, Army Painter gunmetal I've been using.
Interesting.
Actually, just today I got those Vallejo Metallics, whatever.
Vallejo Metal color?
Yeah, metal color. Got a few of those in the mail today. Haven't given them a shot yet, but...
Which ones did you get?
Bright aluminum and a couple others. I think I got like magnesium something.
Don't have that one. Interesting.
Vallejo, for several of their different ranges, they make a distinction between silver, aluminum, chrome, and I can't even remember. They have like 5 names for what in my mind is exactly the same color. Like,
I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
Because I know what you mean. Like, I have like iron and burnt iron and aluminum and dark aluminum and something else,
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of different, and they're just literally different shades of silver.
Sure. But what I'm talking about is like the light shade of silver. Like they have like multiple that are supposed to be brighter than silver. Like silver, chrome, and aluminum, to me, that's all like very bright metallic. And what I find myself wanting more is like the gunmetal, the kind of darker steel color is what I get a lot of use out of. And then maybe a little bit of silver.
Coincidentally, they have a Vallejo Metal color gunmetal, just gunmetal.
Yeah. The problem is, Vallejo is not well stocked in the United States. It's always kind of tricky to find a place that's selling things. And so, I was checking out Michigan Toy Soldier and a couple other places, and ended up finding an eBay store that had a couple that I kind of wanted in stock, so I just bought it from there.
Yeah.
But
I would bet, and maybe you'll have to do some tests, but I would bet that using a kind of middle ground metal from Vallejo Metal Color would speed up your process.
Possibly. I actually really like the gunmetal from Army Painter, and I've been pretty rough on a lot of Army Painter paints. Like most of their regular colors, I do not like. I like
their metallics,
but their metallics are pretty good. And this one bottle of gunmetal in particular, I'm going to be sad when it runs out because I've been, I just got those Vallejo Metal colors today, but until today at least, this has been the best bottle of metallics that I've ever had. So I'll be sad when that runs out.
Yeah, I feel that. I've had a few of those. I think P3's like pig iron was like the best for so long. And I haven't used it in years now. I haven't been able to get any. I mean, I haven't gone out and actually, like online to buy any, but it's one of those colors.
Yeah. In that Jazza Minis box, there was Army Painter, I don't know, one brighter than the steel or something, plate metal maybe. And I put a few drops on, took my brush out, started painting with it, and it started doing the same thing that all the other nasty metallics do. It was like really grainy, and like you could see the glitter in it, and it wasn't spreading well. I was like, what the heck why is this not doing the same as its cousin that's one shade darker does? But
it's funny, I have plate mail metal right here.
Yeah, the constant struggle. I don't know. Sometimes you just get a bunk bottle too. Sometimes you get a dank bottle. Sometimes you get a bunk bottle, and that's the way of things.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what happens.
So, what were we talking
about? The consistency. Well, we were talking about. Actually, we were talking about batch painting, but in one layer of inception higher than that, we were talking about subassemblies.
We'll get there, but I want to hear more about your batch of 65. Because I'm thinking like I feel like maybe like 10 or maybe 20 is like actually a pretty good batch size.
I usually go for 10 because 10 is kind of your minimum squad size, right?
Sure.
To be considered I don't know, playable, or it counts for battle line in Age of Sigmar. So 10 is usually where I like to sit. Like 5 if it's a bigger unit, like Terminator sized unit. But for something like, and more specifically fodder, like your battle line units that, you're going to have 30 of in one group that are going to get taken out by something turn 1 or 2. Like I still like to make them look good, of course, but I don't put nearly as much effort into everything. That being said, I think that these bloodletters look awesome, and I wouldn't be sad to have 70 of them on the table, which is what this is. But it was like I got that process down. So when I started doing it, it was kind of like, okay, well, if I can just get the first red down on all of them, then do the second one and then the third one and, so on. It just kind of made it easier to do. I also did a combination of things where I painted in some of the other details before an all over wash. Because if you have colors that go together, right? Like, I don't know if you're washing, are you doing oil washes for your Chaos Knights?
I actually had been doing strong tone watered down with water, but I think I might actually switch to washes. That's something I've been thinking about, is with these knights, I might
that would be
varnish them
great.
up, switch to oil washes and see what happens.
Yeah.
Do a little testing.
Yeah. I mean, because you're using inks, right, to do the yellow?
I did, yep.
So you probably don't even need to do a varnish. Those inks are pretty hard and glossy on their own.
No, not
because they're still
that hasn't
matted down.
been my experience.
Interesting.
I've had both experiences. Sometimes the inks seem to be resilient, but sometimes they are definitely not. And so I've been erring on the side of always giving them like a couple passes of satin varnish before I do anything like wash them.
Yeah. I mean, when you wash with specifically like an army painter wash with medium and water, then you will cut your inks. Like you will strip them up off of your model. With the oils, the mineral spirits don't necessarily react in the same way. But, you know, obviously being safe with a varnish is probably a good idea.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
But my point was, though, specifically doing things like for these, they're all basically red, blue, and orange, right? So the teeth are white. The metallics are like kind of a brass, bronze, whatever. And then they have blue tongues and eyes. The entire model is covered with Carroburg Crimson, which is like a purple red. Crimson. But watered down a little bit. So when you go over everything, it doesn't like ruin details, but it gives a little bit more to all of the colors, including the teeth, which now have red in between, crimson, and the blue and white tongues, which have a little bit of crimson. It kind of looks like purple, and it matches. It all works. So, batching out 70 guys with a plan isn't so bad. But if you're going in fresh and you have a lot of stuff or sub-assemblies, like, yeah, you're right. Instead of, 10 guys, all of a sudden there are 20 things on your table. Like, you can't do 50 at once and have 100 pieces on your table. Especially if the top half of something can only go with the bottom half of something else. Like,
right. Yeah. And if you are doing, a whole big army and you're, dealing with different unit types, if you're going from warrior to knight to terminator to manticore to whatever else, it can be confusing to make that switch between different shapes of figures and like, okay, where needs to be yellow on this guy. Just there's more mental resources, more table resources in terms of putting stuff down, more mental resources in terms of switching gears to look for what you need to paint on each model.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an experiment I want to do. I want a horde of Chaos Warriors with a bunch of crazy stuff sticking out in the middle and knights on the sides and a Fulmoroid Crusher wandering around. And I think, to make a fun little YouTube video, I'll do what is the best batch size. And I'll try a bunch of them up to, I think, 40. And then there'll be my my Chaos Warriors. So
that's a good way to get an army done.
Yeah, we're hoping we get done before spring here. No guarantees, but
better.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Anyway, today I was
you have to.
Playing around with Blood Warriors. I know that you've spent some time with the Blood Warrior model recently, and this is a Khorne specific Chaos Warrior. But if you switch out the helmet, he's pretty much a regular Chaos Warrior without a cape. Like the armor that he's wearing, the boots are identical, the legs are pretty similar, the chest is close enough. He just doesn't have a cape on. And so I've got a ton of extra Chaos Warrior heads, and so I just bought a pack of the Khorne Blood Warriors. I assembled them today, I switched out the heads, and I actually really like the direction they're going in. So if I'm going to have 80 Warriors of Chaos, I am trying to mix and match from different generations and do a few light conversions and stuff, just so got some variety in there.
Variety. Yeah. You got rid of all the Khorne symbol. There are a lot of Khorne symbols on those Blood Warriors.
The ones that really bother me are the helmets.
Sure.
Now, if you're not deep into Warhammer, maybe you don't know what we're talking about, but a lot of helmets in any of these games have like Viking horns on them, But these are very specific, like rectangular Viking horns with there's a really odd and distinct shape to them that
And I
it's not
have
for me.
all the examples like right in front of me.
Yeah. I feel so regular Chaos Warriors, they have kind of like Viking horns, like just animal horns sticking off of them, which is a trope in all kinds of fantasy and historical settings. But whatever Khorne, the god of Khorne blood warriors put on their heads is a really distinct and, to my mind, stupid looking thing.
To each their own, man.
I don't know. I needed to do head swap. I'm sorry that the army you just painted has 5 stupid heads on them, Casey. Like, insult to you.
I painted 5 of the mortal units of Blood Warriors. That's all that's in this. Everything else, it's all, red orange demons. That's all that's in this army. It's a Khorne demons army. That red tide kind of a thing. The just massive bunch of demons coming at you. So, I like Blood Warriors though. I think they're pretty awesome. And I don't know, I've never had a problem with the Khorne symbols. Like, I like Khorne Berserkers from 40K, and that's kind of the same thing. They have that like cool skull face with the weird funky, Khornate symbols.
Yeah, the Khornate symbols that are just the like etchings on their armor and like maybe like a few tattoos or like scars on their flesh or whatever. That's fine. It meshes pretty well with the other assorted chaos symbols and chaos stars and everything. Like it all meshes pretty well together.
It does.
Except for those helmets are really jarring to me, but you swap those out, you got yourself some regular old Chaos Warriors that cost more than your regular Chaos Warriors, but it's nice to have some variety in there.
Yeah, they do cost more, right? Like they're
so
20.
This is actually not a life hack there. That's a pretty bad life hack.
No,
but
that's actually a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Unless you get some used ones or something with no heads.
$60 unit to replace a $40 unit, but with some light conversions. But I like the variety. Right. I'll probably only do that once. Let's see if I get really carried away. Maybe I'll do it twice, but probably not.
I wouldn't recommend
probably
it.
Not. I probably don't need to. Probably need to do some more painting here, but moving on.
That's the thing.
Moving on. All right, enough about my stupid Chaos Army. We're going to be hearing about that every week until I finish it. So moving on.
I want you to finish it. Yeah. I just want you to finish it.
I know.
That's it.
I know. What are you doing, Casey?
So I finished the Khorne army. I finished. It's done.
Casey finished another full army. Congratulations, Casey.
2,000 points. Yeah. Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of work. So it's not like I'm not putting in the time, like I've painted a lot in the last week. I was trying to kind of like let it go for a while there. Obviously I've talked about it several times, just like we're going to be hearing about your army. But it is time to let it go. And I did make the decision to go ahead and sell it because we talked about that last time a bunch. And then I reached out in the video that I made, because I have that extra hero model, just asking if anybody knows anything about the seller, or if the seller will contact me again, because I don't have his information. If I get more information on the family that had it before him, that I would donate proceeds after painting and selling that particular Khorne hero model to whatever charity they wanted. And I thought that was a pretty good compromise because in the end, like, the dude that was gifted it sold it and stripped it. So I finished the army. Like that's more than I think most people would do. So.
Oh no, absolutely. I think the act of finishing the army and making sure that a lot of eyes get on it, and really putting in the thought to honor the previous owner, that the one previous owner in particular. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And, someone else can enjoy the army as it is. And, I really thought about keeping it too, because I actually really like this army and kind of wanted, I still, even right now, it's for sale on eBay right now. And I'm still kind of like, I could just cancel it and keep it because it's cool. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I mean, you put a lot of
unfortunately,
yourself into it, and that's why it's gonna be popular on eBay, right?
It's true.
Because people know that you put a lot of yourself into it, and you'll always have the videos and the memories, Casey.
That's what I keep telling myself. It helps a little bit sometimes, Yeah, someone else is just gonna enjoy it more than I will and get a lot more use out of it because
Sure.
I just don't play enough games to justify having another, fully painted army ready to go.
Another one, yeah.
Another one. Oh, I only have like 3 or 4.
Well,
so.
it frees you up to start a new project, doesn't it?
Yes, and mostly what I was gonna say is that like a downside to making content on a regular basis is it does cost money, and I have to sell stuff on eBay in order to keep doing that. So that's just how it is. But I am done, and I am very excited about the way that it all turned out. So
congratulations. Yeah. And do you have an inkling of what your next big project is? Can we get a little taste, Casey?
Well, so I got a couple things kind of. Okay, so I got a Mortarion or Motar. I don't
Close
remember.
Enough. I think you did it fine.
Whatever. Yeah, I was getting jabbed in the Discord server a little bit about, oh man, those are real hot commodities right now. That Death Guard book's coming out and people are all excited about it. And I mean, I'm all about the Nurgle and the Death Guard and all the stuff. So I ended up getting one.
You get a decent deal?
I don't know. I did. I mean, it was like $100.
Okay.
So there's some weird like blue putty on it. I don't know what it is exactly. So we'll see what that is, but like it should actually be here. I haven't gone and checked the mail today, but I did get the notification it's in the mailbox, so I'm gonna have to go check that after this. So I'm thinking about doing like a Death Guard army, but already those models are going for a premium, so I might have to just not do that. I'm not sure yet. I almost bought a very nice Skaven army about 45 minutes ago.
Ooh.
I was real close.
Almost like you were outbid at the last minute, or?
No, like I decided against it at the last minute because of how much it was going to go for. I mean, it ended up going for an okay price. It had like 40 storm vermin in it, which is like $150 on its own. But a bunch of other kind of like sort of well done models. There were some interesting looking ones. But it would have been a lot of work, kind of like this Khorne army was, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to dedicate the amount of time and effort into doing that right so soon after.
Well, I'm gonna call dibs on Skaven then.
I already have a Skaven army. What are you talking about? Oh, are you doing Skaven?
I might. I've got a lot of models here, and they're pretty cool. And
they are cool.
Yeah, I if I get this Chaos army going, I think allies work in a way that like Skaven can sort of ally in or something. I don't know. They're all in the realm of chaos. Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technically, you can.
Yeah. Well,
if they're in chaos,
I've got an idea for like armies on parade board. That's so my chaos warriors are like running into a city and they've got their cobblestone bases, but of course, under the city in the sewers are Skaven. So
right,
there's a double-decker board right there.
I like it. That's a cool idea. Yeah, Skaven is one of those armies that like I started with Skaven after getting the Age of Sigmar, like the first box set. I just started buying Skaven models, and then that the Virulent Horde box came out for Christmas or something, and I picked that up. And actually, somebody just sent me an original Screaming Bell, like an all pewter one. So yeah, I got that. Like, so I have this Skaven stuff that's ready to go. And you know, when that newest book came out and it was like, well, you have to have either Storm Vermin or Plague, you know, boys, or like the normal rats, you know, it was kind of like, I gotta have 60 of those, like minimum. Kind of put me off a little bit on the Horde army.
Sure.
Because, you know, red and orange demons are pretty easy to paint in 70 batches, you know, 70 man batches, but doing plague monks or Skaven, there's a lot of different things on there.
They've got their fur, they've got their robes, they've got their ropes that tie the robes shut, they've got their little knives and stuff, and their cute little pink little tails, and they've got eyes, you know, for one thing.
A lot of them do.
Got the little rat teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, little rat teeth.
Oh,
yeah. So there's some things. I also I was talking to a guy not that long ago, and he was sharing this really cool project with me about turning plague monks into the Glober, like Globerdeers or whatever. Yeah. Converting them into those and how to do that. You were showing me some pictures, and I kind of like saved all this stuff, and I was like, this sounds like such a cool like video to make. So I know that's kind of been on the table, but then like I said, I just didn't pull the trigger on that army. And I would have won too. Like I was gonna put in a bid. It ended up going for like $20 less than my final bid was going to be. But I didn't do it. Yeah. Other than that, like I bought a Carnosaur.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got stuff in the pipeline.
I got some stuff. The bigger problem that I'm actually facing is that in a couple months, I gotta like scale it back a little bit. Not that I'll be doing less videos. I mean, I might. It really depends. But since there's gonna be a new baby in the house, I have to basically figure out how to make content while also doing that, like full time. So that's going to be really interesting, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. So like even right now this week, I'm kind of testing out like a not necessarily a new format, but kind of a way to do that makes my life a little bit easier and still accomplishes what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm working on a goblin, like a warlord guy this week. Kind of just trying to pump it out, get some cool stuff around it, some story, sell it on eBay, that kind of thing. So I'm having to compromise a little bit, I suppose. Just in planning for the future.
You just got to be learn to paint while singing a lullaby or something like that. You know,
I am almost guarantee there will be videos like that where I'm going to be sitting there with a camera over my shoulder and there's just going to be a sleeping baby and a model like right here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm going to figure it out.
You're just going to have an Indomitus box behind you with a human child in it.
I mean, if they made an Indomitus baby rocker that like vibrated and moved like a car, sure. I'm in. Yeah. That I don't know.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm not like too worried about it, but I remember last time that I had a kid, like my productivity did go down quite a bit for painting models. Like
I understand.
I mean, I was actually, it's funny enough, I was painting plague monks. Like the day after we took it, like the day we took him home, like he's in the crib thing, the baby thing. And I've got like a handful of paints and some plague monks like on a TV tray in the living room. So I know it can be done. but filming it and doing a full video on top of that, we'll see how it goes. I'm not anticipating anything slowing down, but I'm gonna have to just change it up a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm excited.
I bet.
I'm ready.
I know. I'm sure you are. Like, I'm ready to watch this train wreck. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's it, man. Like, I got nothing else.
Okay.
I got nothing.
All right. I've been working on my efficiency over here. I've got a thing. Got a thing to talk about. Okay.
Yes.
So I spent a couple of days fixing up my studio. Now, hopefully to you at home watching this on YouTube / Paint Bravely, the podcast, things look pretty normal over here. I'm sitting in front of some cat pictures. I've got my refinished table here in front of me. Behind me, I've got a cat in an Indominus box. But
seems normal, huh?
Seems normal, but things have changed. So now, if you've been watching at home, you may have noticed that I have a 2-foot length of 80/20 aluminum T-stock here. This is extruded aluminum. It is a structural framing material, T-slot aluminum. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that I built a cage around my table, and I bolted all kinds of equipment to it, and I think this is very exciting, and it's helping with productivity. But ordinarily for, a YouTube channel or a podcast, you've got, wherever you're presenting from, you got your caster desk, and then around you have tripods for lights, for cameras, for microphone boom arms. You've got I've got a monitor right here to see that I'm recording it in focus right now. All of this off screen, of course, but ordinarily this room would just be packed with tripods. But what I did is I built a cage. A cage is the best way to put it. But a framed up a 4-poster cage out of 80/20 structural aluminum. And onto that, I bolted on camera 1, camera 2, monitor, boom arm, and lights everywhere. Lights. Now, for most of you, you don't care how I've arranged my cameras in my room. I care a lot. But something that might be interesting to everybody is that I also made a change in lighting, and I am currently being lit mostly with shop lights. So this is...
But they're at...
very...
What do they run at?
What?
What do they run at, though?
For temperature?
Yeah.
So these are at 5,000 Kelvin. I think I may try out a couple of different colors, but the beauty of LED shop lights is that they are very cheap and provide a lot of efficient light. So this is something that you might buy at Home Depot, or of course I got them on Amazon, but they are like 4 foot long, and they look like the form factor of fluorescent light bulbs, but they're LED strips inside a plastic tube, basically. And so
which is so great.
Yeah, for $40, I bought 4 of these things that are just lighting up the room like a lighthouse right now.
Yep.
And for anybody looking to get some more light into their hobby space, so far so good on this. Shop lights, LED shop lights. You can get multi-packs on Amazon for cheap. You can get them in a couple different color temperatures. I'm still learning about different color temperatures and what my preferences are for that. So these are 5,000 Kelvin, which is getting close to a daylight bulb. It's kind of in between cool white and daylight. But low Kelvin temperatures are more yellowy. High Kelvin temperatures are more blue. And I don't know, it always throws me off that daylight bulbs are just basically blue.
Yeah, right. That's super white, blue.
It never made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like when I think of daylight, I think of warm white, which is the farthest off you can get.
But the sky is blue, Brent.
So anyway, I built, this frame above me. So I've got these uprights made out of this 80/20 aluminum, and I'm glad that I got this stuff before they closed their eBay store. So this company that makes this extruded aluminum,
no.
this stuff is silly expensive, except they used to have an eBay store where you could get crazy good deals on it. But they closed that down because they realized they should just make it really expensive.
Sell it on a website. Yeah.
So I was sad. I had to buy like a couple of new pieces. So like a 6-foot length is like $40. Yeah, 6-foot length of this stuff is just as expensive as the lights I put on the whole contraption here.
And you have what, like a 6-foot square?
Pretty much, yeah. So if you start counting the edges in a cube, like that adds up.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you go to the 80/20 website to buy yourself some sticks of aluminum, and they charge by the inch. So like I ordered myself a couple more 72-inch sticks, and it was like 50 cents an inch or something. Like it adds up fast.
Yeah.
But this it's a lot of fun. It's like a erector set for big kids or Legos for big kids. And I've made several contraptions with this stuff over the years, and I keep finding new things to do with it. Someday we'll have an episode that's just forget minis. We're talking about extruded aluminum structural framing materials today.
Yes, please. That sounds great. I mean, you could talk about structural aluminum, color temperature of lights, the best boom arms for cameras, just a whole primer on why, like, the kind of space you should have, the most level 10 hobby setup you can get. I
think this is still a level 4 setup right now, because of this, where I'm sitting right now doesn't have great storage. Well, I guess behind me they have a lot of models and stuff, but I don't have a lot of a lot of my hobby supplies are on the other side of the room. That's what I'm complaining about here. But
I mean, but it's the room you're in, right?
Yeah, the room I'm in is level 5.
Qualifier.
Yeah, you're right.
We might have to revisit that at some point. Just to
we made it up on the fly, and it was okay, but we'll really
the fact that people are still using that system, like, we might need to just write it down. Like when somebody just randomly is like, yeah, I got me a nice level 3. I'm like, a level 3? They're like, yeah, hobby space. Oh yeah, we should probably clarify. Like, yeah, we need to do that. So just a side note.
We'll definitely codify this at some point, because it's an important ranking system for you to know where you're at and where you're going and how you should be feeling about how things are going in your life right now and in your hobby life.
Right.
And,
when you get a lighting rack, of either extruded aluminum or electrical conduit bolted into your ceiling, like, you're going places.
Yeah, that's really good, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the aluminum because I don't have to bolt it to my ceiling. I can just, live in a cage here. The view is good.
But you have feet on the ground, right? You got the 4 posts.
Yeah, 4 posts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least you got rid of the tripods and stuff. That's such a huge part of all of it. Like, not having tripods is amazing.
It really is. It's a huge change. And there's, once those 2 extra posts come in, this thing's going to be really rigid. Like right now, I'm 2 posts short from just a real structural behemoth. But
right.
But even now, like, the cameras are on just a nice solid mounting. I've got
sweet.
So for like when I do those time lapses over many days and weeks or whatever, like that camera is
solid.
staying right where it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's no cat Gordon loves to rub against tripods. I mean, he loves to rub against anything,
Right, yeah.
but tripods especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not these cameras. You've cat-proofed your setup. That's perfect.
Yeah, so everything is bolted into place, and that time-lapse camera, I might change its position just for artistic effect, but if I wanted to have
Right.
a 100-hour time lapse of that framing staying exactly as it is, that's an option.
I love it.
Of course, these LED shop lights are probably going to change color temperature over that time, but don't worry about that.
I mean, yeah. I know that the actual like life cycle of them is not as long as a normal LED. It is shorter. It's like 2,000 hours. So that could be an issue.
Ooh.
I use shop lights. Like what I have above me is one of those LED shop lights. Like for painting, I switched to a ring light setup that's LEDs. It's basically the same thing. But for a long time, I had a shop light in my closet hanging from like the closet bar, you hang your clothes from. So I had the shop light hanging from that, and I had a desk in the closet right there, and it was the best setup I've ever had for painting. It was bright and noticeably affecting my painting. Like sometimes in a good way, but weirdly, I noticed that a lot of my models came out looking darker, or my highlights weren't as bright as they should have been because the light was so bright that I thought that the reflection of those highlights, into my eyes was brighter. So I'd take it out of the room and be like, oh, this thing's like black and white still. It's like barely registering,
Yeah. I mean, that's a lesson right there. It's important to leave your hobby cage every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good call. Luckily, I do have a door leading to the outside in my hobby space.
Ooh.
Yeah, and a window. Although the window situation, you can't see it right now on the camera. Behind this camera, there's a window. During the day, the sun just shines right in, and it like kills my filming setup. I have to wait for certain times of day to film, kind of thing, or I have to cover it. So right now there is a sleeping bag nailed to the wall over that window. It's a little janky, but I had to do it. I gotta control my lights, So I still have to fix that issue, but I have access.
Yeah, babies hate lights, so just keep that sleeping bag nailed up.
Like, stop crying, baby. I need to paint my LEDs. No, that's cruel. That's super awesome. I like that you're getting the rig thing. I'm just trying to move it back. I got you. Yeah, the whole rig thing, having the lights hung and the cameras, like I haven't gotten that far to do all the cameras, but the lights, I've got the lights. And I know exactly how you feel. It's real good.
Yeah, think of the way you feel organizing your hobby desk. It's just like that for us, but there's an outer ring of tripods of cameras and lights that we like to organize. So
that's true. I have a spot
another
for
layer
everything.
of hobby satisfaction to get that all in line and nailed down. So
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, so I guess that's what's new with me. I got an email earlier today from GenCon I could read here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked before about our conventions actually happening in 2021, and Adepticon, which is in March, got called, I don't know, in December of last year.
Yeah, real early. Yeah.
So GenCon,
LVO too.
Yeah, GenCon is the next convention that is kind of on my radar, or something that I have gone to before and would like to go to again. And so this is in America, in Indianapolis, and it's normally like the first couple of days of August. And so we're in late January right now when I got this email, and it's from the GenCon people like, look, we didn't have GenCon last year. We're trying to decide if we are having GenCon in 2021, in August of 2021. And how are you all feeling? Are people thinking like they might want to travel and see a lot of people in August of this year? If we do this, is anybody going to come? What safety requirements would you like to have? So what I wanted to read from this email was just they sent along a survey. And, I'm on the email list just because I've gone to this convention before. And they sent a survey of questions like, how are you feeling? Should we do this? What precautions? So I just wanted to read you a few of these questions. So one of the questions was, if a physical GenCon had an increased outdoor presence for health and safety reasons, would you still be interested in attending? Yes, no, not sure. Like, oh, okay. Like, how would the convention be if it was outside? Like, there's like vendor hall is a big part of this thing. You don't want rain or extreme heat and sun on your merchandise. I don't know. All right. Okay.
Yeah. That's tough to say. Especially if it's a lot of collectible stuff or fairly expensive stuff, or, in some cases like magic cards or the like they're not going to want them sitting in the sun all day, even under a tent. Humidity, other issues. It doesn't seem like a good idea.
A lot of role-playing would be great outside, but Indianapolis in August is pretty hot.
Toasty.
It's toasty. But obviously, LARPs, role-playing games can be great outside, but these are just the questions that, like, okay, what would a convention actually be like if things aren't quite back to normal yet? So, which it probably won't be realistically. So,
realistically, yeah.
Another question on here, which of the following enhanced health and safety measures would you want to see at a physical GenCon in 2021? Select all that apply. Daily temperature checks at all entrances. Masks mandated at all times. Daily sanitizing of indoor spaces. Enforced social distancing and limitations of crowds. Free COVID testing. Hand sanitizers throughout indoor and outdoor spaces. Proof of vaccinations before participating.
It's an interesting list that they're even saying, like, that they could possibly exclude some of those things. Like, shouldn't it be, hey, if we're going to do a convention at all, even if it is a possibility, we're going to do all of these things regardless? Like, the one thing that gets me a little bit is the free COVID testing.
Yeah, that's...
I'm not sure why because it takes a few days, doesn't it? Like 2 or 3 days. So by the time you've wandered around inside or outside and you're like, oh no, I have it, I guess I'm staying. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or it's going to just like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that does to badge prices either.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But they might be able to find a way with the city or something to get someone else to comp those prices. But and the other thing is like, the temperature checks at all entrances. That's another one of those, like, by the time you're spiking, you've been contagious. So.
Yeah.
But to me, I look at this list and it's just a reminder that if things aren't back to normal, this is not going to be a fun event.
Fun. That's a better way to put it than probably anything. It's like, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah. Like if you have to travel and so you're at the airport and they're, you're getting your temperature checked at the airport or whatever the restrictions are. It's like, this is even worse than a normal trip to the airport, but I've got to get to Vegas or whatever. So, if you're going through all this because you want to have a good time inside the building where you're all wearing masks and staying far away from each other, and it's it's just to me, it's a reminder that if things aren't back to normal, a convention just is going to be more stressful, and
it's not going to feel right.
Yeah,
it's not going to feel like it should.
Yeah. So the next question is, which of the following statements best describes your attitude towards GenCon 2021? I will attend if I am vaccinated. I will attend if enhanced health and safety measures are implemented, regardless of whether or not I am vaccinated. I will attend even if I am not vaccinated and there are no enhanced safety measures in place. I do not plan on attending a physical GenCon in 2021. I am not sure of my plans to attend GenCon at this time.
I don't think anybody is sure of their plans.
Right.
At this time. Like, what's realistically going to happen from
survey,
now until then?
I am not sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we're not sure either, Gen Con. Like, you need to make up your mind. I mean, it's nice that they're trying to gauge whether or not if they change some things that they could still do something that would be beneficial to an amount of people. Like, I like that attitude going in. They're trying to cater and make sure that they're doing it the right way for the people who will go if they want to go. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't sound like it's going to be a good time. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's because like what I would be going for isn't necessarily, I don't know, like I'd want to go around and hang out with people.
Right.
That's why I'd be going to a convention. And if I can't even do that, if they're like, no, you got to stay 6 feet apart, you know, like, what does that look like playing a game of Warhammer? It's like, well, technically the tables are 6x4, I guess. Like that just doesn't sound great to me, you know, like, yeah. I could do something at home with people and plan a couple of days, and you know what I mean? Like, we could figure something out that would be easier and probably more fun in the long run. It costs a lot less money too. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, Gen Con. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just the putting the questions in words, like writing down these questions and sending them out. When you're reading them, it's like, how do you feel about cannibalism at Gen Con 2021? Like, if you have to ask. Like,
yeah.
The fact that you're asking me this.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, a convention is inherently like a little bit stressful, like a packed, loud room full of nerds who have been wandering around for 12 hours and they're on their third day of wandering around for 12 hours. Like, you know,
right.
Normally on the whole, it's fun, but I think there's a certain level of stress that underlies that, and you know, a little bit of, social tension, and there can be drama, but if you add to that everybody wearing masks and trying to stay away from each other and worried about if the other person has been tested. Anyway, the next question, I think this is the last one I'll read here, but would you be comfortable playing games at the same table with somebody who wasn't part of your household? Check all that apply. Yes, if they are wearing a mask. Yes, if they are vaccinated. Yes, if the table and game components are sanitized before use. No, I am not comfortable, or I am not sure. So, again, it's just envisioning the real practical of what is life like at one of these conventions. If you're going there, if you're going to Gen Con to play games, this is a convention that's, Gen Con is short for Geneva Convention from, Geneva, Wisconsin, the home of D&D. And so it very much grew up around, D&D, and then just a whole bunch of other games. But one of the things you're supposed to do at these conventions is meet people and hang out and play games. And if you're asking these questions before you're sitting down with strangers at a table, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad.
Would it be more beneficial if the convention didn't necessarily happen? I mean, because I could see them doing something like, well, we have a vendor hall and you can walk through X amount of people at a time and, go to each thing and you wait your turn, something, because it's like you can go into a Walmart or something and whatever. It's kind of the same. They could make it the same kind of thing. But then they could just do it online too. And that would be fine. It's not the same thing, but, would it be more beneficial to quarantine yourself and then visit someone who would then also probably go to the convention that doesn't necessarily live in the same area as you to play a game, like in the comfort of someone's house?
That'd be really cool. Is if you just tell yourself that, this August, taking that time off, I'm taking that long weekend or whatever, and I am going to find a way to safely get some games in.
Right.
Yeah. I'm at least going to see my convention buddies, even if me and my convention buddies don't go to
right
an insane zoo
convention
this weekend.
Exactly. Like, you can meet up with the handful of people that you'd probably see anyways, and probably just have a lot more fun.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cabin in the woods style. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm still not going through airport security to go and see you, Casey, but someday.
Someday.
Hey, you're gonna have a child then anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. August is a long time from now.
Yeah, I'll visit once they can say Uncle Brent.
That's not a bad way to go, actually. That makes sense.
Will you visit Casey if his youngest child can say, Dada, Uncle Brent, re-roll your...
I mean, yeah. I'm gonna wait until I can con my child into change dice rolls for me without someone else looking. That's when it'll happen. Otherwise, YouTube hobby meetup 2022.
There we
Probably.
go.
Yeah. I'd say 2022 for multiple people.
Yeah.
And it will be Cabin in the Woods Warhammer.
Yeah. And added to all this, I so want to go to a convention and see everybody, and yeah. There's so many people I want to see in person, and so many games I want to play and stuff to check out, but just reading these questions, it's just more and more obvious that this still isn't happening for a while, is it?
Right. I mean, look, they don't even know what they're talking about. Like, they can't make up their own mind, and they're just hoping that somehow 99% of people are like, I will totally go to GenCon. And that's just not going to happen, because everyone's answer should be, I have no idea. Yeah. On all of these questions. Like, we don't know. You can't know.
I would love to be the person who sees the results to this. Actually, maybe I should actually fill out this survey and see if they show us like the running results after you submit it.
Yeah.
That would be
interesting. Oh, that'd be amazing though. Just spike bars on the bottom. I don't know. 97%. Yeah. I mean, it'll probably be closer to like a 50-50 kind of thing. Of like, hey, if you clean up and we gotta do the social distancing, then cool, let's do it. Like, I mean, theoretically, a lot of people should have vaccines by then. I just found out weirdly, like I went to a Walgreens. It's like on the corner store, right? And the guy that was checking me out was like, yeah, I just got my vaccine. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that we had gotten to that part where, because they were talking like medical professionals and first responders and that kind of thing got their stuff, and they were going to roll it out. Turns out that the Walgreens I was at was like, they had them. They're like, yeah, we'll just sign you up. You get your first one like right now.
Are you vaccinated? Do you have?
No, because they didn't have any more. And the dude was like, yeah, go talk to the pharmacist. They'll tell you when to come back. But yeah, it was kind of like, oh, this is happening right now. And I was not expecting that. So it kind of threw me off a little bit. But even then, like when you get the vaccine, obviously you got the 2 steps, and you're only vaccinated from the virus as far as like really being harmful to you personally. not to other people around you. Like if you still
Right.
have people who are at risk around you, that's like, cool. I'm not gonna have a problem. Probably, like if it's 95% or whatever, like I'll trust that. But then somebody else might, and that sucks.
Right.
I don't know. Again, we don't know. Like we don't know.
Yeah. Oh well. 2022. That's the new mantra. Yeah, 2022. Right. Got a good feeling over here.
Oh man, it's enough after saying 2021. Come on, like for so long.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Killing me.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got, Casey?
I think we have a comment.
I'll read it and then you can respond.
Okay, that works.
All right. Normally we sit on comments for like months before we get around to them. This one was actually from today, which will
4
be
hours ago.
a week from now by the time this comes out. But, okay.
That's true.
Without further ado, PN says, is it common for a new painter to maybe wonder if they're just a subpar painter and that the sculpts are just that good that anybody could do this? Or is that just me? You know, not trying to be negative or humble brag, but sometimes I think it has to be the sculpts that are making models look this good.
So is he saying that like even a mediocre paint job looks pretty good? Is it because the model is so cool?
Yeah,
or is he saying
if
that
there's like a
he's
really
painted
cool
models?
model, if there's a really cool model that you just put on your coloring book hat and you color that book and then it looks awesome. Like no skill, like you got the bare minimum skill, but you were able to make that Primaris blue with gold trim.
Yeah, like
or
obviously to a point, right? Like there are certain models that do look awesome, and if you do the basic amount of work on them, like Primaris is a good example. Those models look better than the old Space Marines. They're dynamic, they look cool with very minimal effort, right? You know, especially in a group of other models. You know, you've got 30 Primaris Space Marines on the ground. That looks pretty sweet, you know, because they're set up, right? So if I spray painted all my Primaris blue, put some Nuln Oil on there, did the trim, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I think sculpts are definitely helping paint jobs look better. I think you know, obviously you can see a difference when someone paints the same awesome sculpt to a very high level and they look even more incredible. But yeah, a good sculpt definitely makes your paint jobs look good.
Yeah, don't let that diminish your accomplishment though. If you've got a model that looks cool, like you still had some involvement there. It wasn't wasn't all the sculptor's
you still
work.
had to put the paint on, and there are definitely ways to put the paint on wrong or poorly. You know, that's certainly a thing. That will detract. Like if you put the paint on so thick that you cannot see the fact that it's a Primaris Marine anymore, that's a problem. Yeah.
But I think there's definitely some models where you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna look sweet. Like sometimes you just see a new sculpt, you're either like, I know what I can do with this, or just almost guaranteed to look awesome.
There are some models that I've had where, you know, I'm looking at the gray plastic and I'm thinking like, this model is going to look awesome by the time I'm done with it. You know, with like minimal effort, like a speed paint almost. Like I'm going to spend an hour on this guy. You know, I feel real good. Coincidentally, I guess I actually just had an experience just like that. I painted a Skull Taker for the Khorne Army. And it's a little bit bigger than most of the other standard demon models. But he's got a lot more detail. He's got armor and a sweet cape made of skulls. And I did basically the same workup that I did on all of the other ones, but he's got this like flaming skull in one hand too. And I don't know, like, it just went really well for some reason or another. I didn't try any harder on this one model, but it turned out way nicer than most of the other models in the army. And I think that has a lot to do with the sculpt. You know, the way that they balanced out like the skin to armor ratio. It's like I can fill the armor in with one color and it still looks really good with the rest of the model, even if it's supposed to be maybe a couple different colors. So I do think there are just some models that lend themselves to, I don't know, maybe like a specific type of painting or a way of painting, or if the sculptor envisioned it to have a zenithal highlight generally, then when you do something like that, it just accentuates a lot of those sculpted pieces and it just looks cool. But yeah, definitely don't let that deter you. Like if it looks cool, like you still painted it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Own that.
Yeah. Sometimes with a texture especially, you're like, oh yeah, the little bit of dry brush here or a little bit of wash here. And like sometimes you just look at a model and know that this is going to take wash really well, or this has just the right amount of texture and raised bits and deep bits for contrast paint to work really well or something like that.
Yeah.
And still a little bit of knowledge there. You looking at it and recognizing what techniques are going to make this work and what that model is suited for. But and that's part of experience and skill too, is knowing the right tools for the job and seeing the potential that a figure has.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of models these days are being made, I suppose, being made to paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not just haphazardly put together. It's like they're posed and they're proportioned in such a way to make things, you know, for you to paint. Like a Space Marine shoulder pad. It's pretty broad, but it's like it's there. I don't know how to explain that better. Like it makes sense. Like there's separations in sections. You know, they'll put like a rope down a leg or something that separates two sections that, you know, not only hides a mold line or a join, but is a separation for color. You know, they're doing those things to help you paint a little bit easier. You know, and like I said, you can take that to a high degree, and those models will look even better with a really good paint job. But yeah, like a nice basic workup, you know, clean, looks good.
I'd love to hear the discussions that go on about, you know, when these folks are designing a model to be painted, like, you know, especially, you know, the Primaris, and thinking about where the color blocks are and where to put details and raised bits and where to put, you know, icons or whatever. I would love to hear those discussions, because I think you're right. I think some models in particular, you know, designed to look cool, but also designed to have the right amount of textures and stuff on there to paint, and to have some raised edges that take edge highlighting really well, or what have you. You know, I know some of the really good painters complain about there not being enough flat areas on models anymore to put some freehand crazy mosaics on. You know, I know some folks will file off, you know, the designs on shields or whatever, but yeah, if you look at a Stormcast shield, like there's raised designs and crap all over it. Right. Whereas, you know, a real shield might have like you know, a real shield would maybe have wood texture, but mostly it would be a flat area with some heraldry drawn onto it or painted onto it. But that's a lot of work if you're painting minis, so throw some 3D hammer icons onto your Stormcast shield and throw a wash on that and call it good. But
pretty much, yeah. And I mean, like when the new AOS stuff came out, you could tell that they were designed to be painted. like Stormcast are pretty easy to paint and they look pretty cool. And I've seen every color under the sun. And it's like, you got some crazy combinations out there. And as long as it's not something just ridiculous that just doesn't work anyways, they all look pretty good. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to hear that conversation on specifically the Primaris Space Marine right knee. I know that's very specific, but there are a set of Primaris Space Marines where there's a knee pad and there's that little kind of floppy thing jutted up over the top of it that you can edge highlight each corner of and put a highlight in the middle. And it's like, it is perfectly made for that. Like, just wide enough to look realistic with the armor, but also be something that is a feature that you are supposed to edge highlight every piece of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
somebody had to have a conversation
too. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But
yeah, they probably do, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for the older Space Marines, the kneecaps, a lot of them were just a kneecap was a round shape in the middle of the leg, you know. But yeah, those Primaris, they do have almost like the greave goes above the knee sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so there's that raised bit right around the knee that is very much a spot to put an edge highlight, and it sticks away from the model enough that it is very easy to put an edge highlight on it. And yeah, I think that's one of those very obvious features that had to be designed on purpose that way. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they were doing some concept work and they had like 4 or 5 different ideas, and this one was like, yes, we're definitely going with this because look at what you can do with this. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear conversations like that on all kinds of other minis, but they don't tell us anything. We have to guess and make assumptions.
Right.
Draw our own
like
conclusions.
They're luckily opening up a lot more about that type of stuff. Because they have the Age of Sigmar and 40K podcasts, like directly from Games Workshop. You know, and they'll pull in sculptors and painters and they talk about the process and all of these different things. So a lot of the information is coming out there. I haven't heard anything specifically. Yeah, I mean, there's some good ones on sculpting, talking about some of the old stuff, like the history of Games Workshop that are very fascinating. But yeah, I haven't caught up in a while, but who knows? Maybe that knee pad conversations happened and we're just rehashing old stuff.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
I think that's all we had for today, right, Casey?
I think so. I do.
Okay.
It's getting late. Yeah.
Do what you got to do then.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.